Straight Talk on Domestic Violence. I'm Gerald Chambers. Today we'll take a look at a video found on SportsCenter and YouTube about an NFL player, Kareem Hunt, who recently was exposed for having a fight with a woman that he didn't know. It's not technically domestic violence because they had no ongoing relationship and they weren't living together, they weren't dating. Just got into a confrontation at his place. My understanding from the commentator, as you'll see in the video, is that he picked her up with some of his boys he had over, and they went back to his house and a conflict started. I guess somebody treated her like a hooker and wanted her to have sex with one of his friends, and there was a disagreement ensued. She called him the N-word, and as you can see from the video clip I'm about to show, they started fighting. So let's take a look at it.
SportsCenter involving one of the best running backs in the game since last season. Disturbing video has surfaced on TMZ involving Kareem Hunt of the Kansas City Chiefs. Before we show you, keep in mind it is graphic video. An incident took place in February in a Cleveland hotel where Hunt has an apartment. Take a look at the video from TMZ. The red arrow points right there to Kareem Hunt and an unnamed woman who are seen talking in the hallway, separated by several people. Hunt, though, shoves the woman at that moment. Several people try to come in to separate, and you see Hunt again shoving the woman, who then eventually will try to come back into the picture and slap Hunt in the face. But you see her go down hard right there. At that time, some men try to escort Hunt down the hallway into a room. There's a little bit of a moment of calm before Hunt eventually breaks free. And eventually, he collides with another man. As you see the woman, she'd gotten up, but she's struggling to stand, and Hunt goes right back there and kicks her. Police were called to the scene. No arrests were made. No charges were filed, even though, according to TMZ, prosecutors did have access to the surveillance video. All parties were questioned, and everybody has conflicting stories. The woman Hunt shoved says the dispute was over her not wanting to have sex with one of them. Hunt said it began when she called him the N-word. You see, that was in February. Then you see the statement here from Chiefs owner Clark Hunt, who was asked about the incident, that incident, as well as one that happened in February. Here's the quote: "The team's made up of a bunch of young men. They're not always going to make the best decisions, but we have a strong support system, both with the coaching staff and also with our player development department that works with young guys and talks to them about the situations that they want to be in." Kareem is a young man, second year in the league, obviously had a very big year on the field last year. I'm sure he learned some lessons this offseason and hopefully won't be in those kind of situations in the future. Again, that was Chiefs owner Clark Hunt, and that was back in August.
As you can see in the video, both parties are doing something. She slapped him, he pushed her, she pushed him. Then Hunt broke free and pushed one of his boys into her and knocked her down, and then he kicked her. So one of the things about conflict between men and women is obvious from the video is men are more powerful. And as a result, we have a responsibility to check ourselves and make sure we're not caught in situations like this. Unfortunately, Kareem wasn't able to do that, as we can see in the video, and it just escalated. It's just a basic conflict. You see one of the men in the video snatch a phone from one of the other women. It's just kind of a bad scene. I'm imagining that there was probably some alcohol involved, but I don't see alcohol. But I just imagine that they probably picked some women up at a bar or something and wanted to, have sex with them, and it just went bad from there. The Kansas City Chiefs, the NFL, basically has the same problem that society has. We don't have a way of preventing one person from harming another person if they're intent on it. And it doesn't, I don't even know if Kareem meant to harm her, but it just seemed like he got hijacked by his emotions. The conflict escalated, push came to shove, and he's pushing and slapping her, and she's pushing and trying to slap him also. And it's just a bad scene. One of the things that we need to keep in mind is that all around the world where there's violence, it's usually men. Men are being violent. I'm not at all saying that women aren't doing anything. They are doing some things. but we are much more powerful than most women and can do way more damage to women when we fight with them. Although there are some women that will fight back. In this, it looked like they were mutual combatants. There are some women that will pull weapons, that will throw some hot grits on you, some hot water on you, run you over with a car. There are some women like that. But for the most part, it's men injuring women in conflict, and men involved in most of the conflict around the world. So, men, we have a special responsibility to begin to see ourselves as dangerous, allow for the idea without allowing for the behavior. I mean, if the game of football, the professional sport of football, selects for a personality that is explosive and violent and lacks empathy, and that's great for the football field, but that can't be a way of operating in life and off the field with civilians. In this next video, Kareem asks for and is granted an interview where he gets a chance to apologize for his behavior, and it doesn't really go real well for him for a number of reasons. Let's take a look at it, and then I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about it.
You requested this interview. You requested this opportunity to talk one-on-one with us. Why?
Honestly, I just want to let the world know, how sorry I am for my actions, and, it's been a tough time for me, and I'm extremely embarrassed because of that video.
Kareem, we've all seen the videos. You've seen the videos. I think it's fair to say that many would say that those images, they speak for themselves. What is there for you to say?
I'm definitely not that type of person, and my mother raised me right. I was raised by my mom and my grandma, and it was just us, and they've always taught me well, and I know right from wrong, and I'm always a person who wants to see and make everybody happy.
So what happened? Take me back to that night. I understand this occurred in the hallway of your residence in Cleveland back in February of this year. What happened?
Honestly, it was just a long night, and to be exact, it don't really matter what happened. I was in the wrong. I could have, took responsibility and, made the right decision to, find a way to de-escalate the whole situation.
Well, I think it does matter, though. We need to hear from you how you got to that point. What happened?
It was definitely some things that were said and did that I did not like, and that's not an excuse. It's not. That person in that video did not deserve that. I didn't mean to hurt anybody or anything like that. It's really tough. It's tough because, I feel like I let a lot of people down, and I just really want to, apologize to everybody, the Chiefs organization, my family, and close friends.
Who is this person? How did she end up being in the hallway of your residence?
Honestly, I'd never met the girl before besides that one time. I met her one time, and it was just kind of like I was my first 2 days living at this new place at the 9 in Cleveland, and kind of just had some friends over.
What were you arguing about in the hallway?
It was just a disagreement, and honestly, I wanted her just to leave, but it's no excuse for me to act that way or to even, put myself in that position.
When I watched the videos, the lasting impression for me was the kick. You kicking a woman while she was on the ground. You kicking a woman, period. How do you explain that?
You can't really explain it. The video shows it. I was in the wrong, and I'm not that type of person. I'm really disappointed and embarrassed for myself and for my family, and I really am taking action to learn from this and do everything possible to, become a better man.
The Chiefs say that you were not truthful with them when you told them back in February about what happened. Were you?
The Chiefs are right, and I didn't tell them everything, and, I don't, blame them for anything. My actions caused this, and I really wish I could, just apologize to them and let them know it's no hard feelings between me and the Chiefs. And, you know, I love the program, love the people there, and I just want to, you know, take this time and better myself and, you know, not let anything like this ever happen again.
What didn't you tell the Chiefs back then?
I just didn't tell them the video, the video part that came out. I didn't say anything really about too much of that. And when I saw the video, it was like my first time seeing it. It was, I realized what I did once I saw the video. And it was really tough to watch, and I know I'm not that type of person.
When was the first time you found out that the videos existed?
After they came out, when everybody else saw the video, that's when I saw the video. That's when the Chiefs saw the video, and to see that is tough because I wish I would have handled it differently.
What did you think of yourself when you saw those videos?
I just thought of myself as being, you know, just not me. That's not me. I was raised better than that, like I said, and I'm not the type of person to, you know, ever even think about putting my hands on anyone, a woman, a girl, it doesn't matter.
Has the NFL ever questioned you about that incident?
No, they have not.
Did they ever ask you to talk about that incident?
No, they have not.
Okay. The Chiefs sent you home after the videos came out, and then they had you come back to the facility, and they released you. What did they say to you then?
They believe that I lied to them. I lied to them. So they said, they pretty much said just, you know, we love you, everybody cares about you, and just, you know, we gotta let you go. We all care about you. It was a tough conversation, and the Chiefs, they did what was right. I made a poor decision, and I'm willing to take full responsibility of any actions that come, you know, from this point on.
One of the things that makes this apology ineffective is that Kareem is not directly apologizing to the woman who he kicked. That's one thing. It appears like he's apologizing to the public, he's apologizing to somebody, but he's not apologizing directly. And usually when we want to try to make amends for something or apologize for something, you want to make that direct if possible. And the other thing that he does here in this video is he talks about how it's been a bad time for him. When you harm someone, nobody really cares how bad a time you've had or how hard your life has been. That's not really what they want to hear. They want to be validated, they want to be acknowledged, and they want you to take responsibility for your behavior in a little bit different way. You know, one thing we have to do as men is we have to recognize that we are dangerous, and that we are those kinds of guys. Even if we haven't hit anybody before, we can, if provoked, any man can go to that place where he is in a fight or kicking someone or acting in a way that you would normally act. And we have to take some responsibility before the situation happens, not try to take responsibility after. You know, I know that he feels like he was raised right and that wasn't him, but the film doesn't lie. And we see that, you know, he did do all the things that we saw him do in the video. And it's time to, we have to take some responsibility, but the time to take responsibility is actually before the incident. You know, but it's hard to do that because many men, such as Kareem, and don't feel like we're violent. Because for the most part, we're not violent until we get provoked. And then when we are provoked, we can become violent. And most of the time, around the world, our violence is being perpetrated on women. It appears as though it was a pickup gone bad. You know, I guess he goes out and him and his boys, and they pick up some women somewhere and bring them back to the apartment. I don't know Kareem. He's not my client. I've never talked to him. Just based on the film, based on what I'm hearing him say, I'm speculating on it. I'm offering some commentary on it. I'm inviting us to have a conversation about it. But he doesn't know this woman. He never met her before. She's back at his place. According to the camera footage, the time stamp on the camera was about 10 o'clock at night. Not really bad. Young people pick each other up. It's a pickup gone bad. I can imagine, based on what the commentator said earlier, that she refused to have sex with one of them. You know, so that's almost like treating a civilian like a prostitute. And so, of course, she objected and called him the N-word with the hard ER, and ding, it was on from there. And that's when the pushing and shoving and all that stuff happened. And just a basic garden grade conflict that escalates out of control with somebody that can probably bench press 250 pounds without a problem and is very powerful. And we saw what happened. So men, we got to be careful. We got to, men and women, we got to keep ourselves out of this position. I think that in some ways Kareem came off easy because remember they're out picking up women and coming back to the apartment, or somehow these women get to their apartment and there's other men there in the entourage. If one of the other guys decides to, you know, have sex with the person without her consent, that kind of thing, we could have escalated into a much bigger problem. So there was a lot of decisions that needed to be made prior to this incident, and what I'm trying to do with these videos and what I'm trying to do with my work is help educate men about this sort of stuff, and women about how to stay out of these kinds of situations. You know, he's young, he's learning, he's been released, so it can cost you a lot. A domestic violence charge. This isn't technically domestic violence, this is more of an assault, this is more of a conflict. But it still can have disastrous consequences, like you see here. And I hope if you're looking at this, if you're a man, I hope you don't think you're special. I hope you don't think this can't happen to you. I hope you don't think you can't lose your temper. I hope you don't think that a loud argument will not land your ass in jail. A bad decision, one bad decision can really change the trajectory of your life. So that's why we're kind of looking at this and trying to go through it to try to be helpful. You know, I'm not hating. You should be able to go out and pick up somebody if you want to, but you got to be careful with it, as you can see. For what it's worth, I believe Kareem Hunt actually believes that he's not that kind of person, because he's really not when he's not triggered. When he's not triggered, he's the nicest guy in the world. He is a different person. But once he gets triggered, he becomes someone else. He becomes violent, and he becomes dangerous. And that's true for all of us. You know, and what we have to try to do, what I encourage men to do, is don't necessarily try to act better, and don't try to avoid looking at your dark side, looking at your shadow side. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about those times when we do get triggered and what happens when we do get angry, and come to understand that that can happen to any of us. And let's take some precautions ahead of time instead of apologizing after we've harmed someone, after we beat some woman up, or after we got ourselves in some trouble. Men, we need to recognize the fact that we are dangerous. We are dangerous. Not all the time, sometime, but in violent situations, most of the time it's men. And women are doing something. They're saying things, they might even push and shove, like you saw here, but we got to take the responsibility for our actions. And in a conflict, the most powerful person places the responsibility for keeping the peace on the least powerful. Now, we may see ourselves as victims. Oh, he's got money, women are gold diggers, and all this kind of stuff. But we don't have necessarily a problem that is outside of us moving toward us. We got a problem that's inside us. There's something going on with our socialization. Women go through the same things we go through, and they're not beating everybody up. They're not fighting all over the planet. It's something about us that we got to get in touch with, and we got to get in check. And so that's why I'm setting these videos up. I'm trying to talk about this. We need to be protected from ourselves, not from anybody else. We live in what's considered a panopticon. That's a word that comes from Jeremy Bentham, an 18th century English philosopher. He dreamed up this prison, a round prison, where the prisoners could be observed by one watchman without the prisoners realizing they were being observed. Later, Michael Foucault picked up the idea and advanced it in some of his writing. But now in our society, that's the situation we live in. Everything we do is under surveillance. There's a camera somewhere. Your phone is a surveillance device. So we got to be on our best behavior at all times, because the film don't lie. And these cameras and this film and all of this media stuff that's going on in our society is changing things from the Black Lives Matter movement and all this police brutality to NFL players off the hook in the hallway of their building where they're paying for security. Of course there are cameras. There are lots of different types of intelligence. There's social intelligence, there's sexual intelligence, there's spiritual intelligence, and there's emotional intelligence. And out of all of those, I think emotional intelligence is the most important, because as you can see, one decision, one poor action has changed the course of his career. He got released. They're on the playoff hunt. You know, we can lose our jobs, we can lose our families, we can have situations that, you know, trouble's easy to get into and hard to get out of. Now he'll be spending a number of years trying to amend his behavior and make up and get back for this one incident, very similar to the men that I have in my domestic violence group. Many of them, their incidents occurred years ago, and they're still trying to get through the 52 weeks of the program to get it off their record or to move on. We got to really think about this. We got to really get help with managing our emotions. They're the key to our success in life. You can be a great football player, you can be a great person, you lose your cool, and everything can be lost. I strongly encourage you to check out my YouTube playlist entitled Straight Talk on Domestic Violence. Look at some of my writing. Check out my blog on my webpage. You know, I'm always working on these kinds of issues, trying to help men and women, families, stay together, stay strong, stay peaceful.